And we are back, guys. It was a pretty hairy situation, as apparently one of the players was experiencing technical difficulties so much, in fact, that I just ripped off that beer.
Yeah, it happens occasionally in esports. Not being able to connect to the internet is definitely an issue that we take care of, but don't worry, the boys in Germany are down to get it fixed up, and they were able to do so. So we're getting ready for Battleground number 1, and I am very curious to see where we're going to go. Method yesterday played Gouda against the opposing team. We'll see if they'll be able to pull it off today.
Gouda?
Yes. Do you not understand my joke?
No,
we Germans are very efficient with our jokes. That one's a hilarious one. Thank you very much. Do you want me to explain the correlation between Gouda and the joke? Gouda is a form of cheese.
No, Gouda is a form of cheese.
Shoot. Well, it appears we are going to Sky Temple. Gouda is a form of cheese, right?
I mean, maybe that's the American pronunciation. I have no idea.
Okay, well,
but for us, it's Gouda.
I am Caldor. I go across different languages to bring jokes together, okay? So I delivered that joke perfectly. You are very welcome.
My biggest problem today is actually every time you start talking, I don't know if you're going to meme or if you're going to be serious.
Well, I'm here to be serious. I'm analytical, and let's go to Sky Temple.
And I mean, I care a lot.
As you should.
Because the Trick Slayer, the HGC Care Bear.
Now let's talk about heroes that are very important here, that have had a high win rate, especially here in the Caldor stats. Tracer, very important between both of these teams. In fact, they were banned a total of 4 times in the 6 games that we saw between these two. Method, also willing to play the Tracer, as we saw with Method playing them on Tuma Spider Queen, as well on the Battleground. I don't have it written down. I want to say Dragonshire. Tracer very important here, as well as Garrosh for these two. Tracer immediately getting banned out. Team Liquid making sure that Method will not be able to pick it up.
You're making a really good point, and you're mentioning Garrosh, and that's something that I want to home in on a little bit. Because Garrosh has been a problem consistently for teams that didn't ban it against Team Liquid in particular. And that is really something where I would love to see some... Well, maybe not necessarily on the first map, but if that also becomes a problem for Method, I want them to be reactionary to it.
Sure.
That's one of the aspects in drafting that I've missed from a couple of teams, where they are just tunnel visioning on a certain idea of how they defeat an opponent, and if that proves to be false over and over again, they don't make adjustments. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see if Method has trouble with that playstyle, if Liquid goes for it, and if that's the case, then how will they react to it?
Very curious about the Warrior play and what's going to get a bit picked up. Arcane are coming in and playing Warrior this weekend for Method, and we had 3 different types of tanks played. He played Diablo, played ETC, and he also played a Nubarak, meaning it's actually going to be kind of hard to lock him down. You'd think a new tank coming in would be someone that could be focused in the draft, but that doesn't seem to be the case here for Method.
Yeah. And what we heard already from Ethereum in the interview after the victory that they scored yesterday, Arcana seems to be pretty happy in the new role as well, experiencing something new, able to show his skills here. And wow, Liquid going for the Abathar first pick. Very reminiscent of the old Team Liquid, the old style. And Abathar has fallen off a bit, considering that we had him banned so often in part 1 of 2018. So I actually like this. It's pretty cool.
Well, let's not forget, Method also opened up with the Abathar first yesterday here on Sky Temple for that Samuro strategy that we did get see pulled off. So Team Liquid also answering back, but making sure to take away that Abathar and not allow that strategy to be.
Little caveat to that, of course, that was a very special strategy, as we already said before. But Abathar still strong on the map. There's no denying it. But now the first thing that Method does is they take Genji away. If you have an Abathar on one side, one of the things that you're trying to prevent is an Abathar-Genji combination, since that, of course, can target the backline even more than if you only would pick Genji himself.
It's also a strong linear strategy if you're facing off against an Abathar composition to try and find a quick pick, and Genji being able to get those resets can make sure that they dominate a match. It's technically a 5v4 until the hat comes in. So having that Genji and Malfurion set up allows for Method to be hyper-aggressive and bringing those resets, something that Team Liquid should consider is possibly bending on a Li Ming later on, or maybe picking up.
That's fantastic stats that you have here on the left side.
They have a great synergy between the two because they have the word reset in their traits.
Okay.
There you go.
Today I learned, that's the reason. We have Stukov and Garrosh now taken. Now we talked about Garrosh for Team Liquid, Sport Billy having massive impact in every single game where he can play Garrosh. Very familiar actually when we look at Diamond Skin, where a similar situation occurs with Roba Doba. We're going to see that today. Granted, they're going up against Fnatic, so that's going to be a tough series for Diamond Skin one way or another. But the fact still stands that Garrosh has been quite impactful in the meta in general, but for a certain team in particular. And Liquid now with Garrosh once again, Abathur as well, so making him even stronger. And then you have Stukov with that mix too. A great opening here for Team Liquid, whereas Method goes more for the aggressive, we dive your backline and try to take your carry out strategy.
Yeah. For me, I'm wondering if Method is going to respond to that Garrosh quick enough in the rest of the series for the best of 5. It's something that has been an issue for a lot of our teams, Diamond Skin, being able to run that Garrosh multiple times in their matchup. Team Liquid did the same against Strict Esports before he got banned out in game number 3. So if Garrosh is decisive and a big reason why Team Liquid gets a win here in game number 1, I'm expected to see some bans later on down the road. Sonya banned out here, another popular hero that if you are just trying to make sure that you want to take out a top laner, a strong one like that is always a good choice.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that they banned Sonya out, because granted we have experienced one game yesterday where Abathur was played as the, so to say, main support, as a pseudo support. But if Team Liquid really picks Sonya, it means that they have like 0 backline unless they they don't go for support at all. So that surprises me slightly. I could have actually seen Method pick up Sonya instead for Ethereal, but they don't want to do that. So I feel Sonya is more so that Ethereal can play safely whatever solo lane he wants.
There's also that fear of Sonya being coupled with that Abathur hat and just completely coming through and crushing forward.
Yeah.
And it looks like Method not wanting to move into that Sonya. We'll see what that different option will be for Ethereal. One of the things that he mentioned yesterday in the interview is that he is willing to play any hero in that top lane. He is flexible and he'll be there for his team as need be. Maiev taken out once again, making it to the second part of the bans here as she continues to fall in priority for our teams.
Yeah, Maiev still banned out here though. But Method really hasn't shown anything yet. From Team Liquid, we already know a fair amount of what they're going to try and do in this game. Of course, they're missing the backline damage still, and we will expect the main support for them to be drafted too. But we already have them with Garrosh at the front line. We know they play an Abathur strategy, so they are probably going to look for a copy target here too. Whereas Method has just shown, okay, we will play Malfurion, straight up the top support in the game, and we want to have Genji. And now they really need to reveal what's the strategy going to be. Because when we look at the games they played yesterday, first of all, the first 2 games that they played against Zealots, you could argue they should have lost those, so definitely huge comebacks on their part. So we don't really know how strong they are in that sense. And then on Sky Temple, which we now see here played as well, they played this one designed draft to just completely snipe the core on the side of Zealots, and they can't play the same strategy again. But they are coming out shooting once more. I mean, they're going full dive here. We have a Nubarak as the main tank and an Illidan drafted. I love the new method. It's really one of those things I don't know what to expect, because they're basically looking at heroes right now and they're saying, meta? What are you talking about?
If I looked at the last 4 drafts for Method, I look at them and I go, is this a team with ADRD on it? Because they have had so many different drafts popping out. Illidan coming in for that top lane. Ethereal once again showing that he is willing to expand the roster that you're going to see in the top lane. Illidan with the Hunt can be a major threat on this battleground. Also helpful for shutting down that Abathur that's going to be doing some global work on the side and being able to come into a fight at any point. And if they find a target that is weak and low on health, such as Stukov with a Hunt into a Genji dive and possibly that Malfurion with the strangling roots, it's going to be a really difficult task for Team Liquid to stop that from killing a target.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that's going to work out for Method. I like I mean, I would say the aggressiveness of the draft, but at the same time, the question remains, does that really work out for them? Because it's still pretty tricky, especially for Nubarak when he wants to engage into Garrosh. Greymane being drafted. Did you, by the way, know that Greymane is a wolf?
Greymane is a wolf. Thank you, Trickslayer. You have such amazing thoughts, and I love that you share them very often on the weekend, Friday, Saturday through Sunday. Thank you very much. I am a bit worried, though, about Garrosh with that taunt for Illidan coming in there. I'm wondering, you mentioned the Cocoon and where he can be weak. Where is that Cocoon coming from the Nubarak? Is it going to be on the Garrosh? Will it be on the Stukov? Dahaka coming in here for Team Liquid to be helpful against that Illidan. And naturally, in a 1v1, that Illidan can beat out a Dahaka, but that Abathur hat, it will become a little bit more difficult. Kind of excited to see where Ethereal is going to go that way. Now, will Method stay with the trend of having squishy heroes on their side? There is a possibility to move into that final pickup as a mage and just look to blow up a target. Chromie comes to mind. Liming comes to mind as well.
Liming is actually a really good call as well, because if you go for a nice Cocoon, you can just use that as target practice and get your combo in and blow it to pieces. But yeah, as we said, Nubarak will have to be careful with the burrow charge, because if he dives into Garrosh, he could find himself in a really odd place without an escape tool. Again, we have Falstad chosen for Method, though, that they already chose yesterday when they played this Yeah, backdoor strategy that they used.
The bird is the word at random intervals. That is for sure here. Falset coming in here for a Method. This is the short amount of times that we actually seen Falset picked up here at the HGC, but seems that Method wants to bring him back into the mix. Not quite Nick's who I would assume would be the one to do so, but we're going to look for Nick to deliver on that Falset. It seems like there is a decent amount of globals available here for Method on the left side. They have Illidan available, they have Falset, so they can handle Abathur threat pretty well and the Dahaka threat. They also have really decent boss control too between the Anub'arak and the Falset. I'm actually kind of liking what they have, but the thing is, they got to bring hyper aggression.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure if that's really going to work out right now. But I love that they're trying to break the meta, and this is definitely stuff that they also practice, of course. So I'm curious to see who's going to come ahead in this series. We talked a lot about how good Team Liquid looks right now. We talked about how they are starting to become stronger and look more like the Team Liquid of the early 2017. Method, on the other hand, they found themselves in a slump. Then they took down Zealots with a 3-0 just yesterday. We heard Athero talk a bit about how they are now switching the roles, how he is now finding himself on the off lane again, whereas we're seeing Arcana in the main tank position. And that seems to be working well for them. Can they translate that into victory over Team Liquid today now too? That would of course be fantastic for them, but they would have to start this with Sky Temple victory.
Well, it's time to start Z game. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Sky Temple game number 1. And we'll look here on the left side. It will be Method in the blue. Arcaner pulling out that Anub'arak at the same time, and gonna have Athero playing Illidan, Curson on Malfurion, Schwimpy playing the Genji, and Nick playing Falstad.
And over to the right side of the map, we see Nurok on Greymane, Splendor on Stukov, Hazops on Abathur, of course, Eternal playing Dehaka on the offlane, and Sportbilly once again on Garrosh.
Immolation picked up for the Illidan, Athero. In the top lane, he'll be looking to soak, but we can see him peel off later and grab those mercenary camps, starting to become a bigger deal. Oh, hang on, as we have Eternal going in for a burrow. Nick trying to meet him with that fly, but immediately has to skedaddle. With that drag being available, Nick would not win out on that trade.
Interesting part for me will also be, again, if we are seeing something along the lines of a cocoon into a gust and then the isolation and try to take the target down.
Sure.
If they can use that to maybe blow someone like Greymane down, or if they have a chance of making that work against Stukov. But here comes already the first flip, and Malfurion is down. Goodbye, Giza with a green beard. No chance for him to stay alive there, so very nice play again by Sportbilly on one of his favorite heroes at this point in time.
Yeah, a prime display of Eternal and Sportbilly being on those heroes as they make plays on the drag into a throw. Curson didn't have a chance of disengaging from that fight, and he immediately falls victim to Team Liquid. And Team Liquid will be looking for more of these pushes. You're going to have Garrosh constantly trucking around, trying to hold down the control of the bush on the right side, or even near a Giants, getting aggressive, as Method will be looking to try and soak and maybe push down some walls. And they're already doing so in the top lane, going straight for this turret, trying to avoid that Garrosh, staying around from him, but get experience so they can jump up towards that level 10.
Yeah, and they're actually doing well, but the drag is great. Eternal with a really good connect here, but Schwimpy is still able to move out of it. But they are still able to take the first turret down here, so already a small win for Method, and those can, of course, add up over time. I'm really liking the aggressiveness of the draft. I talked about this already during the draft itself, but Method has now an opportunity to really dictate the pace of the game. But it only works if they really can find targets, and that might become a little bit more dangerous. Sportbilly is already a beast on his Garrosh, but when he also has the symbiote head of Abathur, if Hazops can help him out here, no matter where he is on the map, that's really something that scares me a lot.
And look how deadly this push is here from Team Liquid. 4 members from Method had to come down just to defend it. The wave clear lacking a little bit. Level 4 might get better here for Anub'arak if he maybe wants to pick up better barbs. At level 7, Falstad can move into the boomerang, and then we'll have some wave clear available for Method. But until then, they are definitely going to be hurting, so they have to watch out for these aggressive pushes that come in for the mercenary camps, and that's why you saw them defend that bottom lane. Now, with them cleaning it up, they can look towards their own. Grabbing Giants to the bottom left, Falstad can rotate in if need be, and at the same time, Illidan, top left, is looking to start pushing in.
And of course, with the camps now these days, it's always important that you have someone that has an easy time clearing the camps. And Illidan is working on it. We saw the same happening with Greymane. So both teams really focusing hard on those. Malfurion dying again as the gank happens from Team Liquid. Garrosh moving in too. And that's really putting a lot of pressure onto the old guy there. The second kill now already against Malfurion. And yeah, Sportbilly just initiating all of these kills.
Yeah, Curson having a really hard time there on that Malfurion. Just once you get hit or landed there on the drag, or even that Garrosh picking you off, Malfurion really doesn't have any options until level 13 for that ice block to be saved. So he relies on his teammates, and if Method decides they don't feel like or are in a position to even save the Malfurion, you just let it go. And they just soak. Sadly though, Team Liquid in their early game is really starting to pay off for them. pushing in this top lane. They were able to clear that Knight camp a little bit quicker than their opponents, even with the defense there for Method, and they look to control the temples.
Yeah, temples at this point are nearly a split, and that's interesting since we have Genji just now rotating from the bot lane. They were trying to attack Team Dehaka and put him into a 2 versus 1 situation so that the Siege Giants could survive a bit longer and put the extra damage in, and that worked out nicely, at least in the early stages. Ethereal has no chance really to contest the top temple, but in the middle we had a Nubarak already positioned from the get-go, and now with Genji being locked into that little fight with Garrosh, this is something where they can still hold on to the objective. And, I mean, so far we talked a lot about the kills for Liquid, but it's Method who pulls ahead in experience. Yeah,
they've been willing to sacrifice, even if their map fearing gets picked up, so they can go ahead and just focus on the experience. The other part, too, is that Giants in the bottom lane were able to break down a turret, and Falso was able to push that in. So that experience definitely jumping up here for Method as they continue to stop themselves from falling too much victim to Team Liquid. I am worried, however, in this top left corner. That fort took a massive amount of damage. Team Liquid, at any point, push in the middle and then put an aggressive push towards that top and take out that fort, and Illidan won't be able to do much about it.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Abathur has also taken Mule. Now, he's the only character in the game at this point that still has Mule, and in this game, it's going to pay off nicely, especially here in the middle, of course. On any map where the objective attacks your structures directly, Mule usually has a lot to offer, since you will have a lot of structures that are low and that don't get finished off immediately by your opponent.
Shwimpy finds a Splendor. He goes in and tries the attempt to get the Impale, but Splendor with the 6 sidestep is able to survive that gank coming his way, especially with Sport Billy on his way to help him out. Nice sidestep there by Team Liquid.
Yeah, well done to save him, but look at the experience again. It's like an entire level lead that we're already seeing here for Method. That's, of course, fantastic when it comes to the second objective phase. Once that the temple spawns at the bot lane, they can do so much here. And a lot of it is also about Nick, who's now trying to take down that fountain that we see there. He's playing it careful, though. He knows that there's already a rotation headed his way, and with everybody missing from the map, Falster decides to not try and take it down and instead just move back for now. But we have the gank set up at the top. Nice dodge by Eternal, but can he get away from this?
There goes the Impale. Thorough continuing to chase. Eternal, though, getting that bush speed, able to escape. Scorpion coming in, though, and finding a Shwimpy. Attempts to throw Genji, but the drag actually connects first, and then he throws afterwards. Shwimpy getting low on health, but able to escape. This is actually really good here for Team Liquid. If they can find a pick, they can start to push in that fort. Here's a drag on a Nubarak into the silence. He still has the ability to burrow charge here. Will he be able to use it? No, looks like he tried to use it earlier and it actually got canceled.
I absolutely love how Sport Billy enabled that play by throwing Dehaka close enough so that once the cooldown on his drag was back up, he could immediately go for a Nubarak here and put him into that awkward spot. Well played by Team Liquid, but they are still trailing behind when it comes to the experience, and that means that Method now has the level 10. And just look at Falstad here. We were thinking about Cocoon and Isolation, but we are far cry away from that. He goes straight into Shock and Awe.
The idea. Definitely blow up a target.
No Hinterland Blast joke or anything?
No Hinterland Blast target at all, man. I'm sorry, I'm letting you down here. That is the actual name, though. Hinterland Blast. Yeah. So way to go, Trickslayer. Having a 4-year-old joke come into our cast here with Shock and Awe.
That's what we're doing. I thought that's our thing.
Oh,
I'm sorry. If we lose that, then I don't know what I'm doing here.
It is right. You know what? You nailed it. Isolation comes out here as Dehaka takes a little bit of damage. And Method is starting to find a kill or two, and they continue to keep this experience lead.
As Dehaka takes a little bit of damage and dies.
As he gets completely destroyed. Only a couple health points, falls down though. No big deal.
Yeah. It's actually... Method has even completely given up any attempt of going for the bottom temple. Instead, they're just pushing through the top lane right now. Especially, of course, since they were able to take the Dehaka down. So they are just trying to find an equivalent in experience in the structures here at the top. Sport Billy is low. Abathur is coming in, helping out. Cocoon is already on the ground. But there's the kill against Garrosh, and the copy of Hazops is just a bit too late. He's trying to break through the Cocoon, but the copy is already about to expire, and Eternal finds himself in trouble as well, since we have 4 heroes against him. And here comes the chase. Splendor goes in, tries to silence. It might be too late as Eternal connects the drag, but he's low and he's down. Another double kill for the blue team. Method with 3 versus 3 kills, a level advantage, now mercilessly making their way through the top lane, taking the fort down, and doing really well with their aggressive composition that they've been using here. I'm actually impressed how they're running this.
Yeah, I am loving this. Incredibly well played by Method, being able to put themselves in a position where they have a number advantage. If it even looks like they might be on even footing, they drop down the Cocoon, lock down a target, and clean them up. They were fighting underneath the fort that entire duration. Part of that available because of Malfurion grabbing that Broccoli, allowing for the Broccoli to take the shots there of the fort coming in, but Method continuing to dance around their opponents. And it feels like that's necessary. They kind of need to. If we were to look at a straight 5v5 versus these two, you have Ultimate Evolution Greymane. Double ability for Greymane to dive onto a target. 5v5 looks really good for Team Liquid, especially with that silence coming in there. So Method, wisely, is not giving him that even footing in a fight and continue to play around him.
I still remember a time around the Western Clash when Shrimpy talked a bit about how they haven't really figured the meta out yet and how they're not quite sure if it really fits them or anything. And I can just picture in my head the scenario where you see Shrimpy talking to Ethereal about everything, having the sheet of paper in their hand, game plan, and then at some point just like crumbling up, throwing it away, burning it, and saying, okay, screw that, we're doing something else. So they're just going for aggression with Illidan's, with Hinterland Blast, Falstad. And even though we haven't seen a Hinterland Blast yet, they already get points just for picking it. And I don't know, I really like the way they are just running this. And it's very reminiscent of mid-2017, early 2017 playstyles that we've seen, even without the double support component. So a lot of aggression here, and I'm a fan. But Liquid, again, have already shown some great play here as well, and some good picks and escapes. They are one level behind, but they are still far, far away from losing out on this.
I am worried, though, for when it comes down to a boss. Will Method have enough tools to be able to fight around the area if they need to? Or they have to be in a position where they just let it go ahead and get grabbed by Team Liquid if Team Liquid deciding to actually decide to grab that boss?
I mean, there's still a few tools. Hinterland Blast on the boss should be able to hit at least a couple of heroes. Then you have the Twilight Dream, of course. If you connect that as well, then you should be in a great spot. But in any kind of boss scenario, I'm more so worried about how much of an impact Garrosh is going to have in that fight. Because with a really good taunt, if he connects on Illidan and Genji, for example, at the same time, he can really start wrecking Method's game plan. And talking about a boss, this is exactly what's happening right now. We already see it coming here. And Nubarak might have a bit of an inkling what's going on, but he has not scouted it out yet. And this boss is going to be taken. Method is trying to counter push the top. That will force a reaction from Team Liquid eventually, since this is, of course, going to start and threaten keep. But so will the boss at the bot lane.
This is a common tactic you can put in your own games. If you notice that your opponents are playing around you and not trying to force anything, you can say, all right, we're going to grab this important objective on the map. That could be a boss, it could be an altar, it could be an objective in terms of Cursed Hollow, grab the tributes, and say, we're going to fight here, come fight us. And make them decide whether or not they're going to come and actually come towards you. Method, in this case, decided, as mentioned by Caldor, to push in the top lane and get level 16, and they'll defend the boss coming their way. But at least Team Liquid did something on the map instead of allowing their opponent to continuously dance around them.
Yeah, Team Liquid, of course, needs to be a bit cautious since Method is about to hit level 16. They themselves have just reached 15, so still one level behind. But with the Haka, they can still soak the offlane, and that should work in their favor. And we have a situation still where they have a really nice grasp on what's happening on the map simply because Abathur keeps spamming out those toxic nests everywhere. So at least they see rotations coming. Structural perspective, both of the teams pretty much on the same level. There's still the remnants of a fort in the mid lane for Method, but outside of that, they are more or less tied up in structures.
Team Liquid thinking about fighting here, drops the Isolation and the Essence. But Arcaner, after getting knocked up, is able to turn around and drop the Impale and get the disengage. Team Liquid takes a bit of a beating and will have to escape. And to be fair, they didn't fully want that fight unless they got a pick. They're not quite 16 yet, but this allows Method to go ahead and push out the map as they prepare for the next temple phase, and it's here in the next 25 seconds.
Shrimpy and his boys already looking to get one of the camps, so the same is true for Liquid, so both of the teams working on the Siege Giants. For Liquid, of course, the experience is also quite important, as we said before. They're only one wave away from getting the level 16, and they need that within the next 10 seconds to be able to contest the temples. And they're going to do exactly that at the top lane now.
Yeah, looking for a possible engage here, so Illidan thinking about popping out that hunt and jumping on Nurok, but once Splinter showed up, decided to back up. Now I'm curious to watch where Falstad's going to be. Falstad's running to the bottom. We'll see if he starts a fight here with the Dahaka, because there is always the tool of Illidan coming in, or even a Genji to try and clean up said Dahaka. Eternal, knowing this, escapes immediately and runs to the middle lane, so Method will do their best to grab this bottom side and attempt to siege a little bit. Trade out in terms of shots for our teams. Team Liquid seems to be getting a bit of a favor here, as they got a couple shots on the bottom.
It's still insane how close this game is right now. I'm really liking this. This is already already looking to be a very cool series between the two, which is kind of what we expected. Eternal with an attempt on the drag, that didn't work out, but Sport Billy is here too, gets the stun in, isolation hits, but the Cocoon goes in first, and the death of Greymane starts things up. The copy is also already gone, as Shrimpy with the Dragon Blade starts to slice through. They're trying to jump in here, and for Sport Billy, the only thing that he's attempting is to get away, and that might not be possible if there's another stun available. Already Shrimpy jumping in, zipping through, and getting the kill, as we have 5 kills against 3, and Method walking away with an advantage, and now the option to not only claim the night camp of Team Liquid, but also get both of the temples.
Absolutely wonderful play there from Method. Taking Team Liquid and splitting them up. The 2 tanks were the top left corner are around the corner, and Method able to turn the fight around them thanks to that global ability, the Hunt being available into the Hentron Blast, and they absolutely blow up that Greymane. At that point, fight's already over. You deal with the Ultimate Evolution Greymane, make sure he doesn't get anyone killed, and you are completely fine. Method goes to the bottom here, attempting to grab this temple, and they should be able to grab these shots, but look at this top lane. Illidan being a little bit too aggressive. Team Liquid finds their own kill. Bad news is it's across the map here, so Method should be able to clip a few more of these shots at the bottom, but Team Liquid at least find a kill.
To me, it's just funny how Method has all of a sudden just stepped it up several levels. Yesterday and today compared to what we've seen last week and at the Western Clash. It's really interesting. They had that slump, and every time you talk to them, I mean, listen to the interviews that we've heard from Shrimpy. He talked a lot about what he feels where they should be, where he thinks their opponent should be, but the entire time you can hear there's doubt.
Yeah.
And he also talks about it. He says, well, results have proven me wrong, and he just talks about how they are just not really finding their flow. And even though they know that they can be strong, you never really get the idea that they come into these games and they're saying, okay, we're going to demolish, we're going to dominate here. And then they play and you see just everything coming together for them. And it's really amazing to me, because they had this really rough time, and it sounded like everything was just going to hell for them, and now all of a sudden they come out swinging again. They build up this confidence and the momentum in these games, and it's really awesome. But Liquid is also not giving up with this.
Exactly.
The recent success they had, they have a lot of reasons to be proud of their playstyle and believe in themselves and believe in their ability to turn this around.
What you just stated about Method, I think, could be said here for Team Liquid, which makes today's match so darn exciting. Watch these 2 teams who seem to have finally found themselves firing on all cylinders. They're really trying to contest their opponents and climb those rankings for that playoff season. Now, right now, Method seems to be getting the better end of the deal here in game number 1, especially as they move towards level 20 with a boss about to spawn. But Team Liquid, I expect them through this best of 5 series to put a heck of a fight. In fact, they may still even win this game here. We'll keep an eye on it here, as we're actually very, very close. Big thing for Method, though, is they need to come down and check out this boss and see if they even want to attempt to grab it. I am a bit worried, though. Remember, that Hentron Blast instead of that Mighty Gust may be something for them to wait on going for the aggressive call.
Yeah, and one of those things about the Hinterland Blast is also it's basically used for an old-school combo that we've already seen in the past, where you try... In the past, we've seen Judgment into an Hinterland Blast.
Yeah.
It was in the Shock of Awe times. It's like way back when. But you can do the same thing with a Hunt, basically, and that's currently what they're trying to do. So they jump on one target, and once the stun of Illidan connects and the Hinterland Blast comes through, you see Genji zipping in and trying to delete the target. You have only a few options to do that with. Of course, the prime target is going to be Greymane, but it's still incredibly powerful if you execute it well.
We'll see if they intend to execute that. As Shrimpy sharking around and scout out Team Liquid. Team Liquid is fully aware of this boss idea. They'll want to contest. If they do see their opponents are there, they had mines. The mines have been cleaned up. Here comes Sport Billy to scout it out. Method has popped this boss to half health, and they also got Darude on this right side. Nurok jumps straight on top of Shwimpy, but he gets out, trying to create some space. Dahaka becomes a main target as Method tries to turn the fight around.
Yeah, and they are already committed with the Avatar copy, so now they need to go
Silence.
for it. Great silence here from Splendor. That's exactly what they need. Here comes the Hinterland Blast, the combo that I just talked about, but Genji isn't here. He's coming in right now. The boss is stolen away by Team Liquid. That's already a big victory, but the Twilight Dream goes through. Stukov is down. Genji trying to get the second and the third kill, and Nurok might be the next one. Goes in, goes down. Shwimpy is so low, he cannot try and jump in again, or he would actually fall to the toxic nest that granted he can't see, but he's not even risking it simply because he nearly died there as well. But Liquid has done the most important thing. This was a success for them. 2 deaths, so no, that doesn't really matter to them. They took the boss, and that's the important part.
They took the boss, which stopped the pressure on that bottom lane, and Illidan heading towards your core is always a threat to end the game, and they take that completely away. Method will now be in a position to grab the temple in the middle, and while they defend that false in the bottom left corner, again, the threat or the idea of the game ending was completely nullified by Team Liquid. And the good news, too, is they'll be able to hit level 20. Now, they're doing the best here to mule up a few shots on top of this keep, but it should go down. Just trying to waste a few shots on that temple and only lose the middle one, which Abathur can definitely take care of. Yeah,
of course. And especially with the boss now taken, one of the highlights also is, of course, that Liquid didn't have 20. So they fought this entire fight without their Storm Talents, which is actually big.
What I loved about it, too, is the silence positioning by Splendor made it very difficult for Method to even step forward and attempt to contest that boss. They had to hunt in completely and commit to the boss due to that silence.
Exactly. That forced the hand of Ethereal in this case. He needed to go in. He needed to interrupt that silence to make sure that they still have a chance to fight for it. Didn't exactly work out as it was planned, but they at least got 2 kills out of it. So it wasn't a total loss for them. So now that we have 20 versus 20, we're seeing Team Liquid without the keep in the mid lane. They can still deal with this. The side keeps are most of the time more important, and this is one of these times. And still a couple of hit points lost for Method at the bottom lane keep. So that is at least open, which means the next boss at the bot lane is going to be very important for both teams. If Team Liquid can take it, then they might be able to end the game through it. If it comes to that, that's another 3 minutes ahead. Game could, of course, end earlier than that if we have a team fight between the two where Method is able to take a few Team Liquid members off.
I'm loving this. Going straight to the late game here. Constant aggression, Dahaka on the top side, making sure to push in that lane, getting the help from Abathur occasionally. Team Liquid definitely in a position here. If they can find that team fight, if they can survive the hunt into hinterland combo, they know they can take that bottom lane and push towards a core, especially with the thought of double gray main. Method realizing this, dancing as much as they can, trying to make sure they have control. Illidan always playing in a safe position. And that's how the game is going to unfold here until this next temple pops up. And here's the issue about the next temple. 2 of them are coming out. Trading out is actually a little bit more in favor of Team Liquid because, again, that mule comes into play.
Yeah, mule is there, but also at the same time, you have to realize they are going to put a lot of pressure onto the remaining keeps of Liquid. So the top lane has already taken a bit of damage earlier, which means that Method has a good chance taking a second keep off, even with mule. So it's going to be interesting to see how Liquid in particular is going to play this now. They still have a lot of vision. We've been talking about the Toxic Nest. Shrimpy already eliminating them, just dashing in with Reflect On the entire time and also using his shurikens, of course. So making sure that he can just spot any trap. Make sure that there's limited vision for Liquid available, and Liquid is soaking shots on both temples immediately. The call being, okay, contest the middle, the Haka's at the top, and then can use his global to join in whenever he needs to do that. So Liquid actually in a very good position here for the start, but they need to be careful. Here comes the Haka as he starts to move in immediately, trying to get the isolation, but Eternal actually misses. Connects the Drag though. Here comes the Cocoon on the side of Inuburak as he's trying to lock them down. They jump the backline. Splendor survives for now, but for how much longer? Shrimpy's already low. Azops goes in and takes him down with a copy just before it expires. The Thero Angel is about to fall, but somehow survives, gets another W, and gets away with the carapace. Great job by him. And Team Liquid, Splendor going full boss mode in that fight and keeping himself and everybody else alive.
And it exactly shows exactly how strong Team Liquid is when it comes to team fight. They missed the isolation. They also missed a massive shove, which would have been very helpful for winning that series. But they still, with the Abathur Mines and the Abathur Hat and Stukov, of course, bringing the sounds as you mentioned, were able to take that 5v5 and get a kill on Genji. And it was close. They were this far away from getting resets for Method.
It was so well done. Cocoon on Garrosh opened up the entire backline of Team Liquid, and everybody jumped in on Method's side. And they stormed on Stukov, and all of a sudden it was Splendor against the world. And I thought he was dead meat for sure. And then somehow he survives, keeps himself alive, keeps everybody topped up in HP, just so that they can turn around and get that kill against Genji. Hasops literally, with the last auto hit that he had, took him down before the copy was destroyed. And that was really well done. It could have even been a double kill against Nubarak if not for how well Ethereal managed to escape.
Now, if this was any other series, I'd be looking at this and saying, okay, it looks like Method's going to be in a position where they have to make an all-in play on a boss, try to win there, and then maybe they can come back. I'm kind of already leaning towards Team Liquid winning this game. But yesterday, against Zealots, Method were in similar position in Game 1 and Game number 2 where it looked dire. It looked like they were completely out. This is a team that does not quit. So with that being said, they are setting up for said boss. They have Illidan in a position to try and double soak and hunt in if he needs to, but don't count Method out yet.
Yeah, also the bottom lane. The Siege Giant camp is going to hold a lot of the lane back, but if Abathur actually helps to push that 1.5 wave that we see at the keep at the bot lane is also going to fall. Liquid knows what's happening. They're not willing to contest this, as it seems.
They believe that they can get that top lane pushing, and remember, they have double
Again,
Greymane. They can go
Abathar is
for
going to
it.
take this down now. Abathar should be able... Yeah, there it is. Okay, all 3 keeps are destroyed. So now there are 3 lanes pushing. And this is a situation where Method definitely wants to end with this boss. They want to end with this one. And the question, this is really just a game of chicken at this point. Is Liquid going to move through the top lane? Is Method going to move through the bot lane? What's going to happen here? Both of the teams just waiting it out and saying, okay guys, we don't have vision on the opponent, we don't know where they are, just play tight, and everybody tries to save at least a few of the heroes in the shadows before they commit to anything.
Bok, a game of chicken indeed, and Sport Billy wins it. He goes in for a direct taunt, and they find a Nubrak. They take him out. Here's a hunt from across the map as the Thorough comes in to fight with Shrimpy. They're looking to get a swipe. They get Stukov. They take him away. Next will be Malfurion, gets hit by a drag and an isolation. 2 have fallen for Method, but the boss, it trumps forward. It takes out the keep.
Eternal with a kill here. Great job by him going for Malfurion and taking him out. A 2-for-1 trade and already pushing this back a little bit. You have to be careful. At the top lane, the shields are falling for Method, but the boss is already on the core. That's another problem, but we have the Mule on Team Liquid's side, and that is a big issue for Method as they're trying to go for the core. I don't think they can make this happen, and Shrimpy is already in trouble as he's attempting to move away here. Nick is helping him out, but the drag connects Eternal again with a kill. He's absolutely smurfing today on the Haka.
Thorough jumps forward, starts to dominate here on top of the core. The Mule is still alive and available. Thorough doing what he can to buy some time, but Nurok eventually does clean him up. And Shrimpy at that point was just trying to buy some time. Maybe get a little bit of damage on that core. If he could escape, then they could reset. But with him not being able to reset, it put Method in a position where they had to go all in on that core, and Illidan did so. In 2 seconds, the Nubrak will be back, but the Temple, it already sieges, and this is going to be a game that Team Liquid has come back in and was able to earn the win.
Yeah, Thorough going in, there was literally with the knowledge that it's checkmate already. They can go through the maps, 3 lanes pushing. Fawcett is now down. The Temple on the map, that alone would already end the game. Team Liquid actually able to turn this around here and take the game. Game number 1 ending in their favor. Fantastic first map between the 2 teams as we are starting our best of 5 series, and Team Liquid is victorious.
Impressive win there from Team Liquid, controlling the flow of the battle a little bit better than their opponents. Gotta yell out that Gyarados as well. Sport Billy continues to do well on the hero, finding those picks, especially in the early game against Malfurion. And this was in a position where Method was actually out macroing Team Liquid for a majority of the game. The Abathar Factor finally coming into full effect in Team Liquid and their shot calling. The late